Today we're interviewing John Dickow. I met John 3 years ago when I was in Toronto celebrating my second heart anniversary. John had just had a heart transplant, and a day after, he was awake, and him and I met. I also met his wife, Lynn. John is an exceptional person. He's a semi-professional actor. I was actually at one of his shows last night. It was fantastic. It was a comedy, and it was really a lot of fun. Now, the one special thing about John is John has actually met his donor family. In Ontario, the Trillium Foundation makes it anonymous through organ donation. John somehow tracked down his donor family. We're going to discuss that with him. We're going to find out how he did that. We want to know the emotions involved with that. John has done a 10K marathon. He's done a 5K run, all in regards to his donor. His donor is Adam. So this discussion today is brought to you by my donor, who's anonymous, and Adam. And we thank you both for thinking about somebody else in such a tragic time and allowing us both to live on. Please enjoy the conversation I'm about to have with John. You are one of the unique people that I've ever spoken with who actually knows your donor family.
Yeah.
And this is amazing to me. I've done a little bit of background. I've looked at your donor and a little bit with the family,
Yep.
sort of thing when you and I first talked about it. But please share.
Yes. I mean, there's tons of pieces to the story, but how it came about. There's a lot of luck involved, and it was fortunate that the families had similar philosophies about things, about life, and people and communication and all that sort of stuff, which made it helpful. But so basically what happened was I was extraordinarily grateful, as I think all of us are, transplant recipients. But I desperately needed to express that gratitude. And so as soon as I possibly could, I wanted to write them a letter of thanks. That's me. So I think it was 2 weeks post-transplant, or 2 weeks after I was home. No, 2 weeks post-transplant. That's right.
It was that quick after you wrote your letter?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I wrote a first draft. It took a couple drafts because I had way too much information in the first line.
Okay.
But I whittled it down so that it didn't give any ID, blah, blah, blah. And then, and at that time, I didn't care if I heard back or not. I mean, of course I wanted to.
Sure.
But I didn't. That wasn't important. The important part was I got it out there and expressed to them how much this gift meant to me, just to give them some idea of what it meant to my family, and to share that gratitude. About 2 months later, I got a response, and it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful, beautiful letter, and there was a little hint in it. My donor's mom said, we'd be interested in knowing your progress, and how you're doing,
right?
If you could share. So to me, that was a bit of an opening, that there may be an interest in communicating, but I didn't know if that was possible. But then in the letter, there was a few clues. They had an opportunity, we were allowed to, I guess, share some of the story of their son.
Right.
And it was from that I put some of those clues, typed it into Google, and I think it was like 5 words. But, I knew the date, obviously, that he had passed.
Yeah.
So I put like obituary, January 24th, 2016, young man, hockey player, whatever. Some of the clues that they put.
Yeah.
I think I wrote celebration of life because the dad had said that they learned some things about their son at the celebration of life. And up pops this obituary. It was the first hit on Google. And I looked at this picture and I started to read the thing, and I thought, this is him. This is my donor. And that was that was a crazy moment, because we all have this gratitude for an entity, and we know it's a person, we know there's a story and a family involved, but to read it and see a picture, that was overwhelming. So I just felt if there's any way I could be in contact with him, I wanted to do that. So I looked on Facebook, and I found, from the name of my donor, I found the Facebook page of his dad and mom. And his dad was quite active on Facebook, and so was my donor Adam. And so I learned so much about him, and had a good feeling about that they probably would be relatively receptive. So I took a chance, and I created a fake Facebook account. Well, first a fake email account so I could register for a fake.
Right.
It's still out there, but it's inactive. It's called Heart, first name Heart, second name Recipient.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was the Facebook page I created. There was no pictures except a picture of a heart or whatever on this profile picture. And it's funny because talking to my donor now, he laughs because he thought, who is this poor person? They only have one friend. Because he was my only friend.
Oh, that's funny. Right.
But anyway, so I sent him in. I still kept it anonymous because it was through this fake Facebook page with no name attached. And I said, I think I'm pretty sure I'm your son's heart recipient. And if there was any interest on your side in connecting, I would love to. If not, I'll never contact you again, except through the Trillium Gift of Life Network. And so that's how it began, and it's been a beautiful friendship and relationship since then. Getting to know them, and they've been very supportive, and we each respect each other's space, but we also have become close. We share a pretty pretty important thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And again, we always stress, especially for a heart transplant, lung transplant, there's no life without that donor. You've done a couple runs.
Yeah. So I was, I was pretty pumped about getting myself healthy as quickly as I could post-transplant. And at about, I think it must have been about 4 months or something, I had my first stress test, treadmill stress test. And I knew when I did it, I rocked it.
Yeah.
Because you can tell, looking at the people watching you, and they're keep pumping up pumping her up, and I'm handling it, and felt fine. And so I saw Stella, and she had a big smile on her face, talking to me about the results. And so that day I decided to do a walk around the hospital just to see if there's people around, kind of like what you do, when, see if there's other patients around, because this would have been, like I said, 3 or 4 months, and ran into Dr. Ross, which I was hoping I would. And I kind of just said to her, hey, did you see the results of my stress test? And she said, yes. And she got a big smile on her face. She said, are you going to the transplant games? And as you know, you're not supposed to go until your 1 year post.
That's right.
And the transplant games were happening I was only about 6 months post, but she already said, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I did the 5K run in the 6 months post-transplant.
Yeah, in good time too.
Yeah,
let's be honest, right?
It's a pretty good time.
And you did another run, 10K.
Yeah, I did a 10K in this past March in Ottawa.
Yeah.
That's a long story, but the short version is because of I wrote this list. When I got listed, the week after I got put on the list, I wrote on the transplant list, I wrote a list of things I would do if I survived. One was to become a professional actor.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But one, to test my limits, as Dr. Ross likes to say, was to see if I could run 10K in under 60 minutes.
Right.
Which I had never done before, but I thought, well, Adam's heart and I should be able to get that done. Anyway, so linking those two stories, when I started trying to become an actor, I submitted an application to be in a student film, and I got the role. And I was talking to the director one day about my story and how I became an actor, blah, blah, blah. And I mentioned this list, and he just went, and it was these Niagara College students in Welland where I was living. And he asked me, have you done the 10K yet? And I said, no, it's going to take some time. I have to train for it. I was thinking this past summer, probably.
Yeah.
And he said, well, he pitched the idea to the school to do a documentary about my list and my story and this. And so they actually made arrangements. He said, do you think you could do it by spring? And this was in February or late January or something. I said, well, I could try. I don't know if I'll make 60 minutes. That's not much time to train. So they made arrangements and found this race that was in Ottawa, which is where my donor's family lived. So it was a pretty big deal. And I didn't make spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the documentary, I didn't make the time. But I ran the race, and they were there, and CTV News showed up, and it was a pretty big deal. In fact, it was on the news in Australia. I should show you that clip.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's amazing, right?
Everybody picked it up. And I since, by the way, have done on the treadmill. I decided one day, okay, this is the day I'm just going to do it. So I cranked up the speed, and I did my 10K in under 60 minutes. So,
Attaboy.
yeah. I had to. It was on the list, right?
Yeah. And now I just want to add to this for people that aren't aware of transplant. But the old ticker doesn't pick up like it used to, does it?
Nope, that's right. And that was one of the things with the race, and that was really important about the training and stuff is, so technically, and I'm not sure of exactly the medical how it works, but basically we have these nerves, I believe it's the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves that control your fight or flight response. They're the ones that make your nostrils get big, and you get the adrenaline pumping, and the hair on your back stands up. And so, what am I going to do? It also makes your heart beat faster, so that you have blood rushing to everywhere, so that you can run away or fight. When they remove the heart, those nerves are all severed, and they don't go back. So heart transplant patients don't have those nerves that fire the heart up. So we have to be very, very careful to warm up and slowly get the heart pumping, because it's basically the physical now, the motion of running that the brain and heart say, oh, hey, we gotta get more blood to these places.
That's right.
But you have to really take your time to warm up. So that's why something like a 10K race, you got to start slow, make sure you warm up fast. And taking off on a sprint would probably be a really bad idea without lots of warm up, or you'd fall flat in your face.
That's right.
So pass out or whatever. So that's it is, and that's why it is an achievement. It's
10K for let's say quote unquote a healthy person is an achievement.
Yeah.
A 10K for a heart transplant patient less than 3 years out, in my professional heart transplant opinion, is more than an accomplishment. And I know, because I train, I do hikes and all that sort of stuff, and I appreciate exactly where it is you're coming from. So, and I mean, you wouldn't know unless you had a heart transplant. So, Adam, what else? What else?
Oh gosh, that's such a. Really, it's not even fair for me to tell Adam's story, because he was such a remarkable person in his own way, and it's the word special comes out. I was just about to say such a special person.
Talk about the song. I love it.
So the one big part of his story, a couple things. He was a huge Superman and Batman in particular fan, and his mom gave me this ring that I think the second time we met. and I don't take it off very much because it's a reminder of what a superhero he is to me every day. But one of the things, he had gone through some very rough years as a child. He had epilepsy and had two very painful brain surgeries. They thought they had cured it, and after some months of being seizure-free, he was in a hot tub with some friends, and they left for a few minutes to go get some snacks or beer or something, whatever, and left him alone for about 10 minutes. When they got back, he had had a seizure and drowned in the hot tub.
Oh boy.
And yeah, it's just, but he's had this tough, very resilient and remarkable life, and had gone through some changes himself. And I'm just so fortunate and grateful that his family and their choice and his choice have come together with me.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add a couple things to that. When I was introduced to Adam's father through you on Facebook, him and I spoke briefly. I believe it's going back some time ago, and I looked at a bit to do with Adam's page. This is a remarkable young man here. He's got quite a following. He some very, very interesting aspects of this young fellow on his page, and some really remarkable comments on there from his friend base. And no, that's another part I like to touch on. We get this opportunity to carry on with this life, and we go back and we see these remarkable people that have given this unbelievable gift. I mean, there's no words to classify the gift. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It's remarkable. It's overwhelming. It's as much as we try, you cannot put into words the immense gratitude for that gift. I mean, we don't know, but there's a good chance you and I would not be sitting here today. Certainly not in this state.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. There was no way for me. So it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. How do you put that into words? We would probably be dead if not for somebody making a very selfless and very easy decision to sign up to be a friggin' donor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ain't taking it with you.
Yeah, no, that's right.
But it's so important, and how do you if there's the one person I want to meet someday, if and whenever I go, hopefully we're in the same place. I'll see him. Yeah. What boy would I like to say thank you.
There's a lot of different theories, and a lot of people have a lot of different reactions to their donors and the miracle that has taken place. On some of the transplant pages, I see quite a bit of reaction from, let's say, a mom for a recipient, like someone who's received. I also see a lot from donors' families who are longing for that outreach, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think what I wish there was some kind of system for vetting donors and recipients and figuring it out, rather than just saying, no, we'll have nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your own. And it's not like it's discouraged. It kind of is, but it's just nobody wants any responsibility because, I mean, there's libel reasons, right? You never know. Somebody you don't know what they've gone through. You don't want to cause pain. There's also the issue of, maybe somebody might feel like, well, you owe us something. And I don't know if that's part of it, but I think the organizations that are involved, whether in Ontario it's the Trillium Gift of Life Network and even the hospitals and stuff, they just don't want to be responsible for causing pain or grief to be increased by making the connection. And there could be these bad situations, but boy, oh boy, the good ones, when it's a match, there is nothing like it. I mean, I've heard a few interviews on the CBC not too long ago. There was two families interviewed that had connected, and it was the same kind of stories that, it's unbelievable gratitude and how they have become close. And it's not going to be for everybody, but I really believe that there should be an opportunity to some kind of mechanism for getting them together if it's a match. I mean, frig, there could be there's lots of dating sites.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get a heart transplant donor.
Well, that's valid for sure.
Yes, white left.
Yeah. So, I think another valuable aspect to that is by you getting involved and by being able to meet your donor family. I mean, look at the awareness you brought up.
Yeah, no question.
Like Australia is very, very pro donate, pro. They're pro a lot of things, really, but not so much in Canada.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, I think the stats latest I've heard are 90% of Canadians agree that organ donation is a great thing. 20% are registered to be donors.
Yeah,
which is mind blowing to me. And frankly, my belief is it should be an opt out, not an opt in system.
Yeah,
you're a donor until you say you don't want to be. What's wrong with that?
Well, there was a bill on the table, and we're not going to bring politics into this at all. But there was a bill on the table, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, it was canceled when the new government came in. But it was actually an opt out, not an opt in. I mean, we all know how the wheels of politics work. So for whatever reason, it didn't work out. But good morning, everyone. Just going to add a few things to John's interview. Some of the end of the interview got cut off. This interview was done quite some time ago. John is still doing very well. There's, I think, one or two little slight communication or complications that he had. I don't believe he's able to drive anymore. Of course, with transplant, there's always something. So there's, a little bit of this or a little bit of that, but I think for the most part he's doing very well, and he's been very, very healthy. At the end of the clip there, we were talking about the fact that when the Liberal government, Justin Trudeau, took over Parliament, there was a bill by the Conservatives that was on the manifest to get opt-out because their child had a kidney issue and needed a kidney transplant, and they were trying to turn Canada into an opt-out organ donation instead of an opt-in where you have to sign it on your license. Anyway, since then, they've never revisited the bill. It most certainly has other issues and platforms that he would much rather deal with. I think it's really important to highlight a few things in this interview, and one of them would be the fact that him and I sitting down and talking is kind of it's a scientific, miracle, the fact that they can do what they've done for us and for transplant recipients, across the board. And this is April, this is Heart Month and transplant. April 7th was Transplant Day. these things are really, really important for people that are sitting in the hospital and they're waiting for these organs, or people who are on LVAD or BIVAD. And what happens here is we get very, very fortunate. Somebody who has signed their donation card is now offering up their organs and allowing 8+ people to live, and that doesn't include tendons and muscles and skin and a lot of other different aspects of what people need in order to survive or make their lives that much better. And when you sign your donor card, basically what you're doing here is you're really giving a lot of people a lot of different options. Now, there's a lot of issues to do with people don't know what happens to them after they pass away and that sort of thing. And I mean, all the power and best wishes to you and whatever your beliefs may be. I'm a man who believes in faith. I believe in God, and I believe that I think that's the least I can do when I die. No, that's for me, and that's not for everybody else. I concentrate on trying to live my life better than the way I lived it before, and be truer to myself and everybody else than I was before, and to try and close the days out properly and try and live well. We are living in a world now where, with the scientific advancements in medicine and transplant related, that a lot of us are getting a lot further. We're able to do a lot of other things, but there are still those people who, after a transplant, have complications and have issues. I do have another video coming up with some of the stuff that happens during your transplant and after your transplant. That video will be a sensitive video, and it will be marked as such, and it will have certain aspects of that video that you're going to need a stronger stomach for. But I think John is a prime example of the way that a lot of transplant recipients act after their transplant. They're very, very grateful. They're very, very humbled by their gift. They really believe in spreading that gift out and trying to pass the message on to get other people to be comfortable with transplant, be positive about transplant. And although it's a hard journey and it's a scary journey, along with myself, to have people really, really feel positive about what they're coming into and what they're getting into. Of course, please, press that subscribe and press that like button. But more importantly, leave a comment if you have any questions about, an upcoming transplant. Leave a comment and ask me, what I'm up to. Go through my videos. I'm working on getting some of my jiu-jitsu videos put together and posted, but I want to clean them up a little bit. I don't do a lot of workout videos. I think that there's enough workout videos out there for everyone, and I don't think, for myself, showing you a video of me lifting weights or running down the street. I think the video of my wife and I going up the mountain in Jasper, I think is a pretty good indication of putting yourself into a position where you can really start to excel with the transplant. I passed a lot of people going up that hill, and there was, mountain more or less, but I mean, there was people up there that couldn't make it up there. And I think that's another area where, after the transplant, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to stay active. We need to try to do our best to be as healthy as possible. Get that heart going, get the oxygen flowing, get the blood flowing. With that, follow your doctor's orders to a certain extent, but don't be afraid to give a little bit. I mean, you can always stop or take the next day. Sleep a little longer. Do those things. That will really drive your effort, rest your body, and enable you to go just a little bit further. And if you keep going just a little bit further, you will get to a point where, you're, let's say in jiu-jitsu, where you're rolling with a 20-year-old on the mat and you're actually able to hold your own. Now, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, I'm by far a professional. I've entered 2 tournaments and lost pretty brutally in both. But it is what it is. As a heart transplant patient, I'm just happy. The other thing that I want to talk about in regards to this video is the fact that John has done a lot of work with his donor family in regards to interviews. Adam's father's written 2 books, and unfortunately I can't remember the name of the books. I have had the pleasure of briefly speaking with Adam's father. He's a very nice gentleman. Adam is John's donor, just to bring that back into the subject matter. He's really dedicated a lot of time to working with Adam's dad to kind of keep the memory alive and really help emphasize the fact that this was such a special gift. I myself have never I sent a letter. I never received a letter back, and I've never really reached out any more than that. I have a couple personal issues with it, but I don't condone anybody for wanting to reach out. There's a lot of really healthy, positive stories out there about. There's a father out there that ran 1,200 miles, I believe, to meet his daughter's donor, which was a young man. I'm going to emphasize something else here. I think this is really important. That young woman was a white young woman, and that heart went into a young black man. And I want to emphasize the fact here that there's a lot of people out there, especially right now in 2022 and 2021, that are really trying to put a divide in the human race. And I think it's really important that we not pay too much attention to them. There are several cases of different cultures, different races, different, either male or female, going to the opposite sex and helping the opposite sex out, or a different nationality. And I mean, other than blood type, antibodies, and the actual size of the organ, there's no issue. I think it's important that we realize just how similar we are. Like another thing in jiu-jitsu, we all roll together, and there's all types of different people on the mat. And people roll with me. They put up with me on the mat, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not very good, and I don't have the same amount of breath. But these things that, like for instance, like that John is doing with these, expanding people's horizons and getting involved in doing these marathons and participating in the transplant games. These sorts of things are really, really important to really get the word out. And I think it gives us a sense of well-being. Like this, my page, this YouTube, it's really recording the times that we have together. That interview with John, my wife and I went down for a great night of entertainment. He did an excellent job in the play that he was in. Next morning we went out, we had breakfast, and then we leisurely took our time home. Like, none of those things are possible without this gift of life that I received. And John is very thankful for that, and you can see it when he, as he's talking, and you can see it when he's articulating how he feels about this gift he was given, and how he feels about his donor parents, and his wife is very, very supportive, and she's a nurse, so it's an interesting aspect, the people that would get to help us when this journey starts and continues after we get the transplant. So I just wanted to add that note as well of how vocal he is for donation, and how supportive he is and involved with his donor family, and he's just a stand-up guy. He's a really good guy. If you get a chance, John Dickout, if you get a chance to see him in any of his plays or whatever, stop by and see him. I think he's been in a couple commercials and stuff like that, and just an exceptional man with exceptional family, and I really, really needed to add that. I kind of spliced this in on the video to make sure that we got a chance to add this note in. So, it's really a hard decision when you're losing such a young man. Adam, I think, was 19 or 20 when unfortunately he passed away, and to honor his wishes with young adults, children, would be extremely difficult. I think as someone who's faced death, I don't have an issue facing death. Of course, I want to stay here, but my wife and my kids, just the thought of them not being here is horrific. So very saddening, and to be able to make that decision to save somebody else's life is remarkable. It shows a human spirit, and it shows how together, how strong and supportive we are together, regardless of race or color or male, female, we're together. I think that's really, really important. So give that organ donation a thought, and if you could just put a little bit of what happens if you did really lose a loved one, what would you want to do, and how would you want to go about it, and would you be willing to honor their wishes and donate those organs, and would you want to meet the donor family or the recipient family, and leave some thoughts or comments in the remarks in the comments below, and let me know. Maybe we can get a discussion started about it, and start heading everybody in a more positive and proper direction than maybe sometimes we're headed right now. Could be there. So again, please press the subscribe and the like button. I'm planning on bringing you a lot of content, both life-related, transplant-related, and some repair videos and all that sort of thing. So give us a listen. And again, if you have any questions, LVAD, BIVAD, heart transplant, just put them in the comments down below, and I'll do whatever I can to help you out. Okay. Thanks a lot. And you have a great day.